Welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Mr. Charles once again, and today I'm doing Life of Pi. I hope you guys are enjoying the thematic analysis. So I take a theme or an idea and we unpack, we debunk, we deconstruct. Okay, so hopefully this will assist you in preparation for the NSC. Okay, so now today we're doing how did Pi use his scientific knowledge to survive. In other words, how or what tools, did Pi acquire over time that aided in his survival for 227 days. So please understand the distinction between his scientific knowledge and his religious knowledge. Okay, there is obviously a fundamental difference there. So when we say scientific knowledge, we are referring to his ability to reason and to use logic. And I'm not referring to give a reason for your answer. No, when I say reason, I'm referring to his ability to use logic and rational thinking to survive. Okay, now we need to ask ourselves the question, how did Pi or where did Pi acquire the skill? Obviously from his father. Given that his father owned the zoo and his father, Mr. Santos Patel, was absolutely, proficient and competent in managing a zoo. His father understood the complexities between animals, how they behave, and also, the reasons why they would act out. Given that Pi spent most of his time at the zoo, and given that Pi was absolutely fascinated with zoology and animals, he obviously, naturally acquired the love for animals and the skills as well. So his ability to reason, to think, his ability to use logic, and his ability to his zoological knowledge, all of these facets played a fundamental role in helping him survive. Okay, so now let's do the analysis together. So firstly, what is important, as mentioned, is that Pi was influenced by his father, given that he grew up in a zoo. Okay, so obviously Pi understood animal psychology. He also understood how animals behave, why they act out, and also the instinct. So when he was on the lifeboat with Richard Parker, in the first story, he completely understood how to tame RP. So the first thing he did was build a raft. So he built a raft obviously from the material on deck, and the reason why he built the raft is to establish distance between himself and Richard Parker. By doing that, he's able to establish what we call flight distance. Okay, and by maintaining the gap, he's obviously able to protect himself. Okay, more importantly, Pi had to obviously, mark his territory. Okay, the same way an animal will mark his or her territory, Pi did the same to send a clear message to RP that this is my space and you must not invade. Okay, so one method would be to urinate. So to urinate is to mark the space, and I think Pi also vomited, to give RP a clear message not to invade. Okay, and this is all part of his scientific knowledge. Also, he also understood, that in order for him to survive, he must somehow create what we call an alpha and omega dichotomy. So the alpha would be the superior one and the omega will be the inferior one. So naturally, one might assume, and it is true, that Richard Parker is the alpha, right? Based on face value. And Pi, given that he's only a young boy, he is the omega. So what Pi had to do, he had to shift You know, he had to become the alpha male, and Richard Parker had to become the omega male. Now, how do you do that? How do you do that? That's a question. Okay, so you need certain tools. You need food. You need water. You need protection. You need shelter, and you need love. Okay? Let me repeat. You need water. You need food. You need shelter. You need protection, and you need love. So these are the ingredients required to make Richard Parker reliant upon you. So that's exactly what Pi understood. He understood that in order for me to keep myself alive, I have to keep you alive. And by keeping you alive, I must make you reliant and dependent on me, on Pi. And by doing that, I'm going to prolong both our lives. Very easy, right? So I need to keep you alive. By keeping you alive, I'm keeping myself alive. By keeping myself alive, I'm prolonging life. And this is obviously based on his scientific knowledge. Okay? So Pi completely understood that. Also, his ability to catch fish, you know, scientific knowledge. The idea that when you kill a turtle, you can use its blood for nourishment. Scientific knowledge as well. The ability to catch rainwater, okay? Scientific knowledge. The understanding that you can use solar cells to purify salt water so that you can drink. Scientific knowledge. The building of the raft, scientific knowledge. The distance between himself and RP, scientific knowledge. Even writing in his journal. So remember, Pi documented everything, right? The writing in the journal, it is what we call deductive thinking. You know, he's documenting everything. This is part of his scientific knowledge. Okay, because obviously, as he's writing, as he's documenting everything, it is giving him a sense of strategy, a sense of there's a method in place. And because there is a method in place, you're able to pass time. You're able to pass time. Okay? So, when we speak about scientific knowledge, we are referring to the practical tools used by Pi to survive. And I mentioned many. So you're going to re-listen to this video, you're going to write it down, you're going to brainstorm, you're going to, you know, try to build the puzzle. And I'm not here to replace your reading. Please understand that. All I'm doing is I'm giving you a more clear understanding of Life of Pi. So in this analysis, we debunked, unpacked, and deconstructed how Pi is able to use scientific knowledge to survive. And remember, after his ordeal, he studied zoology at the University of Toronto in Canada, which obviously, you know, it indicates that Pi was able to live a normal life. We can argue after his ordeal. Thank you. I hope that's clear. And by the way, you have to know that. You have to know that. You have to know Life of Pi, chapter 1 to 100. Okay? Come on. We can do this.